Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today I have a real special open box for you. Of course, not only is it the nice new teal boxes, which are a temporary thing, but also it is a group of coins that we have been excited about, that we got a chance to look at a few weeks back, and I sent them in on a Speedy Gonzalez order with PCGS, and so they're back pretty quick. And before we get started to deep into the weeds on these guys, I just want to remind everybody that if you enjoy the content here, please consider not only liking and subscribing, hitting the notification bell, but also now we do have memberships, and you can check the show notes to look, the show description to look and see what all that might entail. So anyways, without further ado, one more note to tell you guys about these is that I may pause a little bit to describe a few things. This is a series of coins that are pretty scarce. They're coins we don't see very often. This 1846 Dahlonega Mint, there's that D above the D, Dahlonega Mint, $2.50 gold piece. And my pauses will be me referring to some notes that I took because, you know, these are not the type of coins that we see readily and that we have all this information memorized on. So PCGS called this altered surface XF details. All right, so as we go through this group, there's going to be some things I'll point out, some things that I definitely agree with and things that I just scratch my head about. This coin is fascinating because it is a mintage of just over 19,000 pieces, very low mintage. And, you know, when you look at the different grading, the different price guides, these things are priced in the it's seemingly in the $2,000 ballpark for all grades. It's really a funny coin that way. But one of the first things that as I was going through these and I'm looking at PCGS to try to figure out some more information, it's pretty clear that the population reports on these do not include net details grade. So coins that have a net detail grade are not included in the population report. So when I give the population report numbers on these coins, it's going to be from straight graded coins, not net graded coins. So this is a coin that in straight grades, there's about 23 pieces in extra fine with only about 130 pieces beyond that. It's a great coin. It's a great look. Altered surface. I've actually shown this to a couple people in the store already. And this is one that's a little bit harder. This one I would have called a straight grade. Altered surface would usually, I think, indicate that you're doing something, not a cleaning, but actually like some type of tooling or something else. But you know, this one I don't see it. And as we've talked about recently, there's been a whole lot of I don't see it on some of these things that are coming back from PCGS and NGC. Next up, we're going, we're staying down south here, 1843 $5, and this is going to be from the Charlotte Mint, that nice C mint mark. And overall, this coin you can see has a pretty good amount of detail to it, and I liked it a lot. So that the Charlotte and Dahlonega gold pieces, they are somewhat more available on the $5 gold pieces than some of the other denominations. They seem to have a little bit better survival rate, and overall the usage on these, I guess it would have been like a $20 bill. VF details cleaned. Now, your first two coins here to me are somewhat disappointments for a couple reasons. I understand the VF part, you actually have a lot of wear on this side, but I've actually also seen coins, and we'll look at coins where this is a higher VF. When you get the details grade, they don't tell you, you know, VF 20 to VF 35 is a huge range, one just above fine and one almost extra fine. And if you look at the Eagles details on this, you're going to see a coin that has a lot of detail to it. So this coin has a mintage of just over 44,000 pieces. And the pop report's also very low on this coin. This is a coin that you're seeing a pop report of about 8 pieces with maybe 120 in grades higher. So that, of course, is the straight grade pop report. The other disappointment on this coin is calling this cleaned, I think, is a pretty liberal statement. I think that you've got, you know, the stance that they take on most of this earlier gold is to be a little bit more forgiving. and this one also I would not have called a net grade. Now I do have a few coins in here that I would call a net grade, but we're gonna compare these coins on down. That 43C is probably, you know, something like a $1,500 coin, and it gives us a good chance to compare these two coins here, this 43, and now I've got this 49. One of the things that's fun is the difference in dates, how they have changed the engraving to the date size on that, and then you get this 1849 where the date just takes up a huge amount of the surface there. And then you'll see a similar wear pattern to this coin as the last one when it comes to the obverse of the coin. And on the reverse, you'll see probably just a little bit more wear on the eagle. But one of the things to be aware of is that when you see like this huge flat portions on the legs, that's all from strike. None of that is from wear, really. I mean, well, okay, so technically some of it's from wear, but the point is that that portion was clearly struck that way, and you can tell when you look at you know, the eagle's wings how much is left of it. So this coin's really cool, 49 Charlotte Mint VF20, and you know, these are two coins that are very comparable. I think the 43C is probably a touch higher in grade. You know, this, like I said, I think this is a higher VF. Also, you can see similarly some of the qualities of the coin that, you know, I'm making the argument that this 43C should not be net graded. Similar, this 49C has just, to me, a very natural look to it. It's quote unquote bright by some standards, but realize that these things, they were in pockets for quite a long time. Now the 49C mintage of 64,000, a pop of 4 with 231 higher. And you're looking at different price points on these all over the place, from a gray sheet low end 1400, CPG of almost 1800. The oh man, I didn't write down the PCGS price report, but I think that was closer to 2000. So this is probably about an $1,800 coin retail in this market. All right, so next up we've got actually two coins of the same date, but are dramatically different in a couple different ways. So we're gonna look at this 1843 up close and personal, and you see we've got quite a bit of contact marks, some heavier gouges almost on this coin to the front of the field, with interesting set of circumstances, shall we say, on this coin. A little bit rough. You have these rim bumps and stuff. That it's the type of thing that I'd expect to be kind of on the label. You know, they can let maybe one little rim bump go, but when you have a lot of them, it's different. Very high detailed coin. I mean, you can see all of the eagles. Nice strike, all those eagles feathers. You can see that all down through the legs. The arrows, a nice D for Dahlonega on this one. And this guy they called a XF Details Filed Rims Medium D. Now, filed rims would usually indicate, of course, that your rims were actually filed down. So you want to, at that point, say, okay, well, always when you're looking at coins and coin grading, remember that there is not just two sides to a coin, there are three sides, and that rim is very, very important. Now, I am intrigued because if there's something filed on this, it's got to be under one of these latches, whatever. One of these areas where the holder is holding it in place, because I don't see any actually filing on the rim. And sometimes they're referring to like the edge when they say the rim. They might be referring to like there's something on the corner. But once again, I'm really not seeing it, so it is kind of intriguing. So the 43D, there's a 43 medium D and small d, which is like, you know, going to Starbucks. I don't understand the sizes. Apparently there's no large d, but they are less than 100,000 minted for both types, and the population in extra fine straight grade is about 39 of these, with about 140 higher. And what you'll see is a coin with 100,000 minted and, you know, just maybe a few hundred surviving, that a lot of this stuff that is older from the 40s, you know, they had to go through the Civil War, and there's not a lot of coins that really survived that. They did not have their survival rate. You know, depending on the price guide you look at for these guys, you're looking at, you know, extra fines in the 2,500 to 3,000 range, and very fines in the 2,000 to $2,500 range. You know, this coin I'm maybe pricing in that $2,000 price point, something like that. But first, before we start talking about that, we got to look at this, because I have a second 43, also D, but this one, let's compare the D's real quick, right? So I got this D here, and we're going to look at, oops, you see how big that D is. That's the quote-unquote medium D. And then we've got this second one here, which is the smaller D, and it is much, much smaller in size. And let's just look again, we'll talk about the grade a little bit. You'll see similarly, now when we're talking about strike, now see what's going on here, compare this to those Charlotte mints where I told you the 49C had that real flat area on the eagle's legs. And you know, it's hard to tell, but now look at this one. Look at how sharp the feathers are on the wings. And then look at the top of the feathers on the arrow, and then those legs, right? So you start to see some of that flatness playing out there. Now this coin has a huge area that's been reworked here in front of the field. You see all those white lines moving this way, and then they also move this way, and they move that way. And so this one they actually call repaired. So oftentimes when you say a coin's repaired, I mean, they're talking about, so this I would have called altered surface. Repaired to me usually means there's a hole that's been filled. So if there's been a hole that's been filled, although they should say filled hole, oftentimes you see a huge area that's been reworked, and then on the opposite side of the coin at the same point, you should be able to see the same thing. But on this side of the coin, it does not have those problems. So to me, this is a coin that you would call altered surface instead of repaired. You know, and so that coin earlier that says altered surface, where it looks to me pretty normal, you know, I want to see something like this. And when I say I want to see, of course, we don't want to see. But what I'm saying is that is an altered surface right there. And sometimes they'll call that smoothing, you know, trying to get bumps out of the field and making it look nicer than it is. So overall, VF details actually pretty comparable in grade to this one. Not quite as nice, not quite as detailed. But what's interesting is the small D variety. I'm trying to look up the pop report, and the price guides don't really show much of any difference between the small D and the medium D. But when I try to find auction results and different pricing, they're almost non-existent. So PCGS's price guide for this coin in non-details, the normal grade, is 4 and 36 higher. So the other one was 39 and 140, but you know, this coin, I mean, you're talking about probably less than 100 known in PCGS and NGC in all grades. So this is a super rare coin, and it's one of those weird things where there seems to be a lack of indication of that in the marketplace, like, or in the price guides, I should say. The marketplace will decide on that coin what the value is, and so we'll see. I'm not sure how to price that one yet because it is very, very rare. All right, we got another D mint. We got a high grade, lots of detail, and of course super shiny. So this is one that I would have called cleaned right away. You know, this is really bright, and of course they called it X jewelry, which is interesting because, you know, I mean, it's a fair assessment when a coin is this bright. It looks like it's been in jewelry. Typically, I want to see a remnant of it being in jewelry if it's going to be called X jewelry. So sometimes you'll see like these little rim clamp marks from the piece of jewelry it was in. Lots of times you'll only see wear on one side or discoloration on one side, depending on what type of jewelry is put in. I would have just called this cleaned and not X jewelry, but either way, it's probably the same. It is AU details on this 45D, a coin that, you know, they made just over 90,000 pieces. And once again, you have a PCGS straight grade pop of 37 and 120. So you'll see very low survival rates on these. And AUs trade for like 2,500 to 3,000. You know, with the jewelry stuff, maybe this is still, maybe it's still a $2,000 coin. We'll take a look and see what we can do on that guy. We've got this 1844, and this one I thought was really fun because, you know, I don't see many early New Orleans mint gold coins. I just don't see them that frequently. Overall nice flat surfaces, good even wear. You can compare it to the Charlotte Mint coins we had earlier. You know, it's got a decent amount of wear on the coin, and it actually ended up with a similar grade, with this one being called a VF30. Nice coin. PCGS population is 24 with 446 graded higher. Original mintage of 364,000 on this coin. And it's interesting because the gray sheet treats this coin just like a little bit more than gold, like 600 and some odd dollars. But the PCGS price guide and the coin, the retail price guide is, you know, 716, 820. I don't know exactly. I think this is probably about an $800 coin retail. It seems to me like it's got to be worth more than the $600 or $700. But either way, neat coin, nice early piece. I really like that one quite a bit. And we're going to stay in this time period. We got an 1844. Also, you'll see right away how much brighter this one is than some of the other coins. And this is the type of coin that, depending on how bright it is, I have seen coins like this straight graded before. You see this is bright, but it also has this color tone to it that it's retoned over time. It has the darker periphery. You can just see that area on the edge that has a darker tone to it than the rest of the coin. And overall, they called this one X Jewelry, also XF Details. Looks awfully similar to the other one that we saw just a minute ago. Can't complain about them calling it, you know, cleaned or something. Once again, X Jewelry is interesting, just because I don't really necessarily see the jewelry marks, although you know, that dark toning area could be from it being in a bezel setting. You know, so that is a possibility. So the 44, I almost said Denver, Dahlonega Mint. So this has a mintage of 88,000 pieces. Your survival rate's about 48 in this grade, about 160 higher on the straight grade. All over the place on these guys. XFs are 2,000 to 2,500, VF 1,700 to 2,000. So this is another coin that's probably going to be in a similar price range. A lot of these coins are going to be in that, you know, $1,700 to $2,000 range for these little $5 gold pieces. Next, I actually have a couple of coins that have mintages that are pretty low and yet survival rates that are relatively high. So I've got a couple of 91 CCs here that they're really cool coins. I mean, Carson City Gold is so much fun. These guys have mintages of 208,000 pieces. And I got two to look at here. We'll compare them kind of side by side, see which one you like a little bit better. They are slightly different grades. You can see this one here already has a little bit more detail to it, a little bit nicer look to it, overall more luster. So we've got an extra fine 45 and an AU 55, and let's dive a little deeper into the grades. It's interesting to see a 10-point difference between the two coins because they don't look too super different, you know. But here's something for you to kind of train your eye on. You know, there's a lack of luster on this 91 on the XF45 compared to this one that got the AU grade. You know, you have more original luster to the coin flowing over the devices, a little bit more detail in the hair, and overall, two really cool coins. These are coins also that it's really interesting to look at. They have pretty high survival rates compared to the ones that are pre-Civil War, right? So only 208,000, but you've got, you know, a couple thousand in all grades on both these coins just at PCGS. So, you know, you figure between the two grading services, there's got to be several thousand of these available. You know, keeping the price guide on these guys in XF probably about, you know, 1,100, 1,200, and the AU probably about, you know, 1,500 or something like that. Really neat coins. If someone wants to do a $5 gold piece mint set. It'd be kind of fun because you can do each mint. Get a New Orleans, Charlotte, Dahlonega, Carson City, all of those things. Finally, I'm going to wrap up. I've got two more coins to look at here, and they are pretty tough coins to come by. These San Francisco mint coins on $5 Indians. So this 10S has a mintage of 770,000, and the S, I want to show you how the S is just this little flat spot. Right? These things were struck so flat, it's pretty remarkable. The S is right on the rim. There you can just make out the S. And sometimes I've seen them where they look like they'll just flake off if you look too, if you stare too hard at them, they're just going to pop off. So this guy actually has a decent amount of luster on both the eagle and the field still. Nice looking coin. They called this one an AU50. You know, a population of 92 with 829 graded higher. Really intrigued by the pricing on this because the gray sheet has these things practically at melt, but even on eBay in auction format, I'm seeing them trade for, you know, $700, $800. PCGS has them priced at $830. So really intriguing. These seem to be much harder to get than the price would indicate. And the same holds true for this 1913 from the San Francisco Mint. And this 13S, very nice coin overall. The 13S has a mintage of just over 400,000, 408,000. A lot of detail. Once again, look at the S is practically gone on this coin. There's even less of an S on this one than on the 10S. Let's see that S mint mark. That would be easy to miss. It is just a little knob, right? Pretty hard to see. And a cool coin overall though, this XF45, population report of 146 with over 1,000 graded higher. Similar to the 10S in the way that both the gray sheet prices and PCGS price things. Gray sheet near melt, but PCGS over $800. And for once, I think PCGS may be more correct on that, just looking at what they're selling for at auctions. So anyways, guys, that is a big old box of gold coins. Thanks so much for watching. Leave your comments in the box down below. Please consider subscribing. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. Thanks for watching.